And we're live. Hello, everybody.
Hello, happy Friday.
Happy Friday.
We have a large fan running over there, so let us know if you hear it. We didn't notice that it was picked up by the microphones, but if you hear it, we can shut it off. It's not like crazy hot in here. So
Please pretend you don't hear it.
I don't know, it's drying my contact lenses out, so it might be like, well, I have my glasses all put on. Actually, I'm going to put them on now because it's really drying them out. Welcome. I am Jenny.
I'm Paul.
And we're with Palette Knives Out Artcast.
Ching, ching.
It looks like we have 2 people on right now, and then more people tend to join as we go along. Although these summer days like this, we tend to have lower attendance just because you guys are out doing fun stuff out in the sunshine, like barbecues and all that. Hi, Julie. Glad to see you here. Marlene. Nice. So you must be my 2 who are on here right now.
The usual suspects.
The usual suspects. Glad to have you on here. So let's go ahead and zoom in on our canvas.
Let's do it.
So those of you who participated last week know that I snuck and did this painting while I was supposed to be doing Paul's painting, and I had it in my head for quite a while. I just couldn't get the time at home to sit down and do it.
So does that mean that I have to do my next month's painting today while you're doing this one?
It's up to you. You can do whatever you like.
No, I think I'll probably paint this one.
Okay. Yeah, I'd be curious to see how you do this one. So this was suggested by Jen Welton, who is a long-term fan of ours, going back all the way to like 2011 when we had our live studio. So Jen, thank you. You always have pretty good requests and suggestions for us. So let's go ahead and talk about the colors. We're just using these, the Daler process set. The only color missing here is white. I did use white, quite a bit of white. I just gave myself a lot for this one. And you can see less of some of the other colors. These are really drying out from the fan.
Yep.
But you can sub your own colors. All you need is a really bright yellow, like chrome yellow would be great. Raw sienna or yellow ochre, or you can just mix a little bit of black with some of this, maybe a little bit of red or magenta to get something that's a little more deeper. You don't have to have this exact color. We just want it, I just use that for shading. So then we have black and white, and then cyan, which you can sub a primary blue or phthalo blue.
So next time we have a warm day like this, let's not put our paint on a half hour before we start.
Yeah, we got here really early tonight.
Because the magenta's pretty much dried out.
Yeah, I don't even remember if I used it.
All right.
Okay, I'm gonna set this aside. Oh, actually, let me pop it over here. You can do whatever color background you like. I chose this turquoise color just because I thought it would be fun, have some margarita green in there. Just tends to be one of my favorite colors, but I also thought this painting would look really great with a pink background. So you can do whatever you like. Even a gray background too is going to change the whole mood of the painting, but I did
I
see
think that's a good idea.
I saw some lemon paintings that had a gray background that gives it more of a still life look.
Yeah.
So whatever you're feeling today, go for it. You can always change the background color later on if you decide that you did one that you weren't super thrilled with. Okay, so give us a follow, give us a like, all that good stuff. It helps us get out there. I don't know if that works when it's a membership page.
It doesn't because they're already following us.
Okay, thank you for following us. Let's take, we're going to mix up a slightly lighter yellow to trace everything out. And you can use either your, on the brushes, I'm just using our standard usual suspects. I'm going to use my number 8, but you could use your number 4 as well. Go ahead and dip it in your water cup, swish it around, dry it off on the towel, and scrape off a little white, plop it down near the yellow. Scrape. Oh, look at that. It's got a skin on top.
Yeah, I'm not kidding. The magenta's like toast.
Yeah. I don't know if I use it. I can't remember using it.
But I might.
Actually, I do. I make kind of a purple color.
I might use it.
So we just want a yellow that's maybe a couple shades lighter.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about lemon shapes. So these some of them ended up kind of long. Like this one's pretty long. This is more of like what a lemon is shaped like. If it helps you, you can draw it round and then make the little rounded points on the ends and then just sort of...
Looks like an eyeball.
Yeah. So if that helps, you can absolutely do that. I'm just going to freehand them.
The color we're shooting for is lemon yellow?
Lemon yellow. I'm going to start with this one right up here, and I have them facing some of them different directions. Mine might not end up being exactly the same as this original. Yours doesn't have to be either. I'm going to try to make them a little rounder. So even the points on the end are slightly rounded. Everything we do here gets filled in and, and painted around and over, so don't worry if you don't get it 100% right the first time. Now I'm going to do one here that's facing this way. I thought about doing a lemon slice on this. Ooh. Then I have this one that it butts right up to the next to this guy and comes down like this. And this one's a little bigger.
You better watch yourself there, mister.
I've got one tucked right here. This is my one that ends up kind of long. They're gradually getting larger and larger. And then I painted one more, so I have 5 lemons. I always just automatically end up doing odd numbers for some reason. This one, it could go like this way. I have it, let's look. It's just sort of dangling down this way. But it really doesn't matter. I want to see what I want to do here. Guess I'll do it basically how it is.
This is how we do it.
And go ahead and give these just a loose little fill-in. And when I say loose, you just work kind of quick and don't even worry about getting every single last little spot on here, because we do a lot of layering.
I feel like my layout is a little off, but we're going to live with it.
Yeah! So you can see I'm not like 100% filling them in. This for me is practice on painting looser, and you guys have heard me complain about my own painting style that I tend to not paint as loose and free as I would like to. And I think that's a very common problem, unless you're Paul.
What are you trying to say?
So hold your brush kind of far back. Oh, shoot.
Bang.
This is one of my favorite shirts. Darn it. Okay, I'm going to try to dab that off.
There was a lot of calamity going on at that.
I flung my brush at myself. And actually, if you get the paint pretty quick, I got more on it from, I apparently had some on the towel. I'm going to need you to get me a fresh paper towel, man.
Oh, you know what? I've got some rubbing alcohol in a spray bottle. Do you want that?
I think I'm okay. That might actually hurt the fabric a little more. Yeah. Well, this gives you guys a chance to fill in your lemons while I clean my shirt. I've had this shirt for so long, like pre-COVID, and it's just like a staple. If you look back in all our videos, you'll see I'm wearing it. I have 2 of these. When I used to be a Fabletics member. But yeah, how funny. Normally, I'm much cleaner than that. So I was painting a little too loose, I guess?
No.
And if you are painting in a warm climate like we are right now, you can add some water to your paint to just make it go a little further. There we go.
Push it.
Okay.
I have word that Daniel probably won't be joining us tonight, but he might.
What's up?
He went kayaking today with one of his clients.
Oh, that's fun.
It's been a long day.
Tualatin River, maybe?
I don't know. Didn't ask.
Okay. So now we're going to work on the background, and I'll show you my process picture. So see how I painted the dark purple behind the lemons, and it looks really weird and out of place? When it comes together in the end, it is subtle, but it does add, it gives this much more depth and dimension than keeps it from being totally flat. So that was a planned thing, and we're going to go ahead and do that. I made a lavender color with cyan, magenta, and white. You can use your biggest brush to mix them at least. Yeah, that cyan is dried. Oops, let me get back on the camera here. So there I have a purple, and then I will add some white to it. Just add a little white because the white will start overpowering it pretty quick. And you can mute this down a little bit. You could add a little bit of raw sienna or yellow ochre. Be careful though, because like I added maybe too much, and now it's a little more gray than I maybe would have wanted. So I'll just throw a little more cyan and magenta back in there. Give you a touch more white. And now just go along, again, loose painting style. Let's get in between these. You can use your number 8 brush again. Get in the gaps. Don't worry about overlapping like I just did. I try to keep the outline around here somewhat sharp, just because when we're using a darker color, and then we have to go back and touch things up with a lighter color, it can take a little extra work. So we're going to have this go in the middle and then off this way, so you don't need to put any around here, but let's do put a little up here. And it ends up being so subtle in the end. I almost could have not done it, but I think if I had left it off.
So what you're saying is in the end it doesn't really matter?
But in the end it does matter.
But I tried so hard and have come so far. I'm quoting songs.
So Marlene and Julie, how's the weather in your guys' necks of the woods? You have heat? Is it mild? We are at 90, I think it was 92 on the way over.
I think it was.
According to my car, and that's fairly accurate actually. Once the car gets going and it's not like not having sat there baking in the sun.
Like a blister in the sun?
Mm-hmm.
Let me go on with our song references tonight.
Oh.
Alright.
Hot and humid. Oh, you melt water. I can't remember where you are, Julie. And I think Marlene's over in New Hampshire, if I remember, right? No, I always forget. I get it wrong. Mid-90s all week. Yes.
No,
I'm not a big fan of summer, honestly. I like the sunshine. I like the flowers and the leaves on the trees. But my favorite kind of day is when it rains in the summer and it's kind of warm, not like cold rain, and you see a lot of the green on the trees. It's got lots of cover because the trees are all bloomed out. But I am definitely one of those people that likes rain, like a weirdo.
True Oregonian.
Yep, I'm a true Oregonian. Oh yeah, Ohio. That's okay. So I was gonna say like Illinois. So you're up in that area. And oh, Julie, Florida, Melbourne, Florida. It's the West Coast. Hit mid-90s most of the week. So is that that's the West Coast? Cool. So you're like along the Gulf.
I would imagine.
Very awesome. Okay, let's get some color around these. We're just going to blend this color out. If you want to mix the turquoise color that I did, we'll do that. I'll show you how to do it. I'm going to click out. I zoomed in one notch there.
A notch.
So blue or cyan, yellow.
No, not yellow.
And your white is what's going to transform this color to turquoise, and you can play around with how much. I love this color. I'm going to start with this. So I'm going to dab this over the edge of this purple.
Oh, we got to paint fast tonight.
Yeah, we really do. Cutting in around those lemons. And in a minute here, I'm trying to run my brush out of paint. In a minute here, I'm going to mix some more yellow with this. But as your brush is running out of paint, that's when you want to come in and just real lightweight on your pressure. Come in and just glaze over the top of this purple. So see how it's a lot more blended up in here now compared to the way it was a minute ago? So just get the paint heavy on the edges. Let your brush run out of paint, even if you have to come out here and run it out of paint.
Oh, my hand's cramping up.
Really?
Yeah. Working it.
And now I feel like my brush is definitely running out of paint. I'm going to come in and just lightly, light pressure, glaze over this purple where I'm not fully covering it.
Mm-hmm.
But we're adding a tint to it. So the shadow is still there. It's just got a tint. And I'm going to come right up to the lemons because I don't want it to really have a real harsh purple line. I want it to be dark around the lemons, but a little more subtle than what I had. This one definitely doesn't start out super pretty. Just gonna throw that out there. And let's get around here. Till your puddle of color starts running out. You're in the East Coast near the Atlantic Ocean, distracted with my 3-year-old grandson. Yeah, they'll do that, won't they? How fun, though. Okay, I've officially got this pretty well dried out, and now I'm going to start mixing a more margarita green. So what we're going to need is this color, but we're going to add more yellow and more white. So we'll scrape some of that blue off, add a little more yellow than we did last time, and then we'll add more white. Definitely more yellow, so we're just think about a blended margarita. Yummy.
Sounds good. Let's go get one.
The white will turn it a little more minty. So if that happens, just add more yellow. And you'll want something kind of along the lines of this. That's somewhat margarita-ish. And let's go ahead and use choppy brush strokes. Fill in this white area. Quick, fast-moving brush strokes. Those of you just joining, welcome. Thanks for hanging out with us, even if it's for a few minutes on Friday.
Hang out a little longer than you think you want to, because I guarantee you're going to be more entertained than if you just stay for 30 seconds long. I don't know. I'm not sure this is really my jam. Trust me, we'll get there. You'll learn to love us.
I'm going to bring some...
Oh, wait, what am I talking about? This is a members-only broadcast.
Yeah.
Everybody knows this anyway.
I think they're familiar with you now. I'm going to bring some of this color in here now. Not too much on the brush, especially in here, because you see what happened there. That got really harsh. That'll be pretty easy to fix as long as I just run my brush out of paint. Look, I had some darker teal hiding out there. That's totally fine. We're going to go with that. You can bring some of this up and around. Just so that we are spreading the color continuously across the canvas. And it'll be a little darker over here because we had darker stuff going on there.
It was a dark time.
Dark times for these lemons. And again, you can paint your own color background. I had said in the beginning, this one would be awesome with a pink background. You're going to think about like strawberry lemonade. I love that. Super cool. Got a lot of white canvas left. And that's good because I need some more color in here. I'm going to add more yellow and more white to this. I'll probably have to have you, no I won't, never mind. It's going to have you get more white, but I think I'm good on white. So this is really quite a bit lighter. This is, I don't know, this is more margarita green, but look at the difference. We're just going to chuck this in here with our brush. The background on the original, I'll show it to you again. This was a layering process. I did a lot of layering until it finally got to here. I even at one point had some gray in there, but I wasn't really vibing with that. So I covered it up. And these initial steps, everything's going to look really messy. No painting should start out super pretty right from the get-go.
No, that would be weird.
Yeah.
Like really weird.
Yeah.
Your vision can start out pretty.
Your vision can start out pretty, and it can be frustrating, especially as a beginner, to get past that it's not looking good, and your little inner voice is going to talk to you and tell you that you should stop, that you're not going to be able to accomplish what you see in your head. You power through. I have to do it all the time. And sometimes I do have to start a new painting. And I paint the canvas black, so I never know that it existed. I forget it completely. And then a lot of times I'm pleasantly surprised. And then even more times I have to step away from it for a day or two. And then come back and I'm like, what did I not like about that? I actually think it looks pretty good. Now this next part's going to seem a little funky, but you can do it. It's one of the layering things that I did along the way. You can wash your brush. I actually layered a misty white over the top, not over the lemons, over the background, and I'm going to show you. It ended up being a little lighter than I wanted, but you can see it there. I did sort of a white, cloudy looking thing. And in the end, I ended up liking the softness of the background because of that white that was in there. So you can do that if you want. You can leave it as it is. I'm not going to use a lot of white, not as much as I did in that photo. But I'll just grab some of this that already has some of the yellow in it. And I'm just going to scrub it in here. And you've got wet paint on here. It should start softening the colors a little bit. Again, totally optional thing to do. And I kept this white for the most part over here, because this is the area that I sort of have established is darker. I don't know why, that's just how it worked out. Now I feel like I have a lot of dark teal around here, so I'm going to bring some of this margarita color back in around the lemons. When I designed this painting, my goal was actually to not outline the lemons, but I got it finished and I thought, you know, I'm going to just try it on one, and I'm going to do a watercolor technique for the outline. And I really did end up liking the way it looked. It kept it from being cartoony because it was blended in. So I'm talking about this dark brown around here. And it also upped the contrast a lot because with the margarita or lime color in the background, the lemons were sort of getting a little bit lost in the background. So yeah, I'm just gradually adding a little white in here. Soften things up, and it's drying so fast, it's annoying. I'm gonna add a little water to my paint here, the margarita color, and then just back in with that watered down color. What I'm doing right now is I'm hitting some of the areas where I still have some white speckling of canvas showing through. Are you using a palette knife?
I'm doing my whole background with a palette knife.
Interesting. Is it because your hand is cramping?
I'm just having fun with this one.
Okay. You're allowed. So we've got this, oops, my microphone jumped off of me. We've got this kind of key lime color going on here. I'm going to soften this purple in between these two like I did earlier, where I'm keeping the deepness there, but softening up. Like you can see how I've got this sort of outline around these. I want a shading there, but I don't want it to be outlined. So I'm going to bring in some more of this darker teal color. This is one of those things that's a little tricky because you don't want to mask the color, but you also don't want your lemons to be outlined in this bluish purple. I mean, maybe you do, but I don't want mine to be that way, so I'm just gonna glaze over. There, that looks better. You can still kind of see the darkness around, only it's much more subtle. Whoops. Got some lime in my lemon. Now, let's have a look at the original really quick. You can see I have a lot more blue. I don't know how that appears on YouTube. On this particular monitor that I'm looking at, it's, yeah.
YouTube.
Yeah. Okay, so the YouTube feed, it looks bluer than the monitor I'm looking at. And in person, it looks even bluer than that. It's just a really pale, kind of light denim blue. Let's go ahead and mix that up if you want to use it. If not, you can just keep this background. But we do want to have some of the margarita color on hand. You can mix it as we go along if you've run out. Like, I'm not going to mix mine right now because my palette's drying out so fast. I'm going to scrape off some white, plop it down somewhere. Get some cyan going in there. And maybe just a little bit of yellow ochre. Yes, so that's going to mute it down and make it slightly greenish. This is right about the exact color. There we go. So it was cyan, white, and a little bit of yellow ochre or raw sienna. Just a tiny bit of this. So it's going to tone that color down and make it slightly green, but not totally green. Like most people would look at this and say it's blue. Now I don't want a ton of paint on my brush. I really don't have a lot, so I'm just going to use the corner of my brush to start. Maybe I'll dab it off here. And we'll bring little bits of this color in here. I am going to have us come back with some more margarita green, or margarita yellow, whatever you consider it. Again, this was such a layering process for me. I knew I could do the lemons. I knew how to do those and what I wanted to do with those, but the background was a work in progress.
Oh, Daniel's here.
Daniel's in the house. Actually, Daniel will be in the house next week at our house.
He will, I think.
Paul is a fantasy basketball nerd.
No, this is not fantasy basketball.
No, but
Do
you
not
are.
go.
You are a
No,
fantasy basketball
no,
nerd.
I have never done fantasy basketball.
Really? I thought you did.
No.
Okay. Never mind. Rewind.
My goodness. I think maybe we need to spend some time communicating and getting to know each other.
There's that one scene in that one movie where it's Paul Rudd and Leslie Mann, and she thinks he's having an affair, and she follows him and finds out he's part of like a fantasy football league.
This is 40.
Was it This Is 40 or was it Knocked Up? It was
No, I think it was
okay.
This is 40.
So funny. But anyway, yeah, Paul has a draft party every year for the NBA draft. And Daniel and friends have been coming for I don't know how many years.
Well, the first time they had it at our house was the year Greta was born. She was a newborn.
And Greta's 18.
Yeah. But
Okay.
we've done it for a couple years before that as well.
Yeah. Very cool. Not fantasy. I'm going to wash my brush now.
No, it's the real NBA draft.
Gonna wash my brush now and remix a little of this margarita green so that's this color or even a little more yellow than that. Just to blend in a little bit in here. 'Cause as I laid that blue down, I lost some of that. And I want the blue in there as well. But I don't want it to be the main event. What is happening? I missed a blue on my brush. Yeah, this is a good color. So I don't want a lot of paint on the brush. I just dabbed it off on my paper towel and just going to sort of use wispy little brush strokes and dabs and get it over here without knocking out too much of that blue. I'm going to call that green Blue Lake green because I was on Blue Lake today. There's no way the lake was blue. Oh, Blue Lake, is that the one that's out like Gresham area?
Yeah.
I remember one year I signed up. This is when I was doing a ton of running and fitness fanatic. Kind of wish I'd get back into that phase. I signed up to do a sprint triathlon, which is a mini triathlon. And we were supposed to do like a half-mile swim at Blue Lake. And I was like, no problem, I can swim. So I just trained on the bike part and the running part. And then I thought, I'm going to go up to the YMCA and they have like, I don't know, an Olympic-sized pool up there. And it's just a block or two from our house. And I'm going to see how good I am at swimming. Not good. I had to drop out of the triathlon because I was like, I'm literally going to drown if I do this. So, I word to the wise. And then everybody was like, oh, well, you have to wear a wetsuit because it provides a little buoyancy. And I'm like, okay, this triathlon's coming right up. I don't have the money to buy a wetsuit. No, I'm not going to do this. But I didn't drown, the end. All right, I'm liking the background color. This is, again, something you can just work on a little bit here and there. You could try glazing a little watered down white in there. The fan we have running in here is really
Mucking things
feels
up.
nice, but it is mucking things up a little bit as far as the paint drying really fast. So I'm not able to blend as much, but I feel like it's pretty close to, other than slightly different. Like I have a lot more yellow in here. Maybe I will add some more yellow in here. I think I did that later. But we could do it now. Let's go ahead. I'm going to add a little white to my yellow. Maybe even throw it into the edge here so it's, there we go. So it's got a little greenish in it.
My background kind of has a, oh yeah, kind of vibe.
Oh, that's very 1980s.
Yeah.
There, I do like that. The yellow is a nice touch in there. It just sort of balances everything out. And that is what you want. You want color balance. And I think what happens when you paint and you're learning every single time, even if you think it's just a wasted time sitting down with the canvas, like maybe you didn't do one that you loved, you're learning and your brain will automatically start color balancing. excited. I've got a lot going on here, but again, I've got that stupid fan. So I'm just sort of mashing the color around because I know it's still a little bit wet in there, and I really want it to be kind of soft. So there we go. I do feel like I could bring a little in here so it's not such a giant wall or stripe of color. My only issues today regarding my first use of the kayak, getting in and out of the thing. My seat wasn't in the right spot, and it's awkward getting into a kayak
that's right.
if you're not
It's
used
the
to
first
it.
time.
Yeah. My lemons look like dancing hipster aliens. That's awesome. Okay, it is actually time to work on the lemons. We're going to convert these dancing hipster aliens. This kind of looks like the snowman from Frozen, but yellow. Oh no, he's made of yellow snow. All right, so if you're painting along, which I know some of you guys do, I know Marlene, you usually do, just finish up what you're working on with the background. You might be picky like me and keep working at it and working at it. You can always go back and work on this background area even after you have the lemons completed. Because it's such a choppy background, you can bring color up and around these leaves.
But not up in here.
But not up in here. Okay. So, let's go ahead and clean off the brushes. Go back to our number 8 brush. Actually, let me have a look at the photo of where we are at. Yeah, we're going to do a little shading. I didn't take a ton of photos. My bad. Let's actually use the biggest brush for just a minute. So clean any green off of it.
You made a rhyme.
Clean any green. And I'm going to put some fresh yellow on here. I always screw the cap off, unscrew the cap off of these because I find that it works a lot better. Because this thing tends to get clogged up with paint around here, and then it's hard to open. Okay, so let's pick up a little paint, just plain yellow, not mixed with anything. And we're going to go all along the side. So I have it so we have a light source over here, like maybe it's the sun cutting through the leaves. Let's have a look. Sun is cutting through the leaves here, and so our highlights are all going to be facing up this way. So go ahead and take your yellow, and we're going to come along the right side of each of the lemons and head towards the middle using short little choppy brush strokes. And let me zoom in. So that's all you need to do with this. You can leave some of the white in there. We're just getting more color on the right side of these. And if you have any funky spots, like right here, I've got a little green from the background in there. That should end up getting covered up by the outlines we put on. This one I like to put the yellow right in this little V shape to set this one apart from the other one. And this guy is going to cast a little shadow under here, so you can just play around, even though you wouldn't necessarily, we're going to be shading that with brown. This is really good practice to start thinking about lights and shadow. So even if this is something that's not necessarily going to stay, start thinking of these lemons in relationship to each other. Like, what's going to happen with this, with the light being up here and this one being on top of this one? Yes, it's going to cast a shadow.
Somebody else's paint is drying fast as well.
Ah! Oh, so you're painting along. Awesome. So I'm lifting and dabbing my brush a lot just to keep it loose. Keep myself from trying to over-perfect everything. And I really come down and I shade into this sort of V shape down here. already looking pretty good. I mean, they're pretty rough, but looking much better than they were a few minutes ago. So on this one, the underside here is going to be shaded. And then this is going to cast a shadow across the top of this one. If you feel like you want to use a smaller brush, you can. I'm just primarily getting, my focus right now is to get color on fast. So yeah, the outline along here is terrible. This lemon is like really rough, but when I do the final outlines in the brownish color, that should take care of it. Okay, we're gonna switch gears. You can wash your brush when you're ready. It wasn't a huge change other than just getting more of a fill-in going on. Now let's go ahead and grab our number 8 brush. And what we're going to do is we're going to create a slight shaded color. Hey, Kim. Oh, you're watching your granddaughter? You have movie night. No problem being late. And also, congrats to Mark on the first official day of retirement. Awesome.
I hope he's napping.
Yeah. So I'm going to mix a little yellow ochre with yellow. So we want to make a color that's deeper than this. Let's have a look at the original. You can see it shaded in there. It's pretty dark, so it might feel weird at first, but it is something we want. So let's go along the edge here, using a nice choppy brush stroke. Now you can do a nice outline along here if you want, but then as we get in to the inner part of the lemon, I want you to use choppy brush strokes. And under here too. And I can up the contrast on this a little bit more, which I'll do in a second. I want to keep some shading around here. The cool thing about this is you can always go back to yellow and soften anything. So what I'm going to do right now is just take pure yellow ochre, not a lot on the brush, and I'm just going to dab it around to just up the contrast a little. And what I was talking about with the softening things with the pure yellow, what I can do is I can wash my brush, dry it off, and go right to the pure yellow and just glaze it in here. And it leaves the raw or yellow ochre darkness in there, but softens it up. So I do a lot of that, and that is how oil painting works, because you're working with wet on wet colors, and you're constantly glazing over one color with another, and it works great for softening harsh shadows. So I'm going to do it right now. I'm not even going to wash my brush in between. Glaze. Okay, maybe I should wash my brush. Had a little bit too much paint on there. So I'll glaze over the edge of that yellow ochre. One of these should be pink, so it could be pink lemonade. Yes. Well, I don't know if you were here. I talked about making the background pink, and then you've got your pink lemonade. So that one looks like it's got a nice bit of shading going on, and it's very painterly. I didn't try to over detail, and I made little short choppy brush strokes. This is exactly what I wanted for this painting. You might like it being more smoothed out. That's totally your preference. You can do your painting how you want it. I'm going to move on to another lemon now, and then we just keep going back. We keep going around the lemon circle, and we keep going back and adding more shading and more highlights. So let's move along. Going to mix up some fresh yellow and yellow ochre.
Wasn't there a song called Shake the Lemon Tree? Like a country song?
There was Shake the Sugar Tree.
Oh, that's what I'm thinking of.
So I'm tracing along the edge using the thin edge of the brush, and then once I get inward, I'm changing that to be a more choppy brush stroke, like more broken up. And you might, again, just constantly remind yourself of the light source, which is going to be up here. And so the bottom edges of your lemons down here are going to be shaded, and also where they're under another lemon.
Mine look like the lemons that have been sitting on the counter for a couple weeks, and they're starting to turn.
Actually, isn't that funny? They do turn kind of like a dark yellow. Mm-hmm. And they get real like leathery. So weird.
Lemon leather.
So I'm going to wash my brush and go back to just the plain yellow and glaze over the edge.
Did you know that a lot of vegan leather is made out of mango?
No, I did not know that.
No, you do.
Huh, interesting. Okay, so this one ended up being a little bit smoother shading than this one. And I think I did maybe a little quicker job of going between colors when it's drying out like this.
Oh, yeah, there is the Lemon Tree song.
Yeah.
That is, what's his name? Trevor something.
Up here. And just trace along the edge. You can use a smooth brush stroke or a short little choppy, but as you go inwards.
Trevor Hall. Oh, that's the lime tree.
The lime tree.
Oh, there's a song by Peter, Paul, and Mary that's the lemon tree.
Interesting. Don't remember that at all. Peter, Paul, and Mary is a little bit like before our time, right?
Well, it was kind of like our parents' time.
Hey, there's a gnat on my painting. Are you checking out the lemons? I know, look at it. This is telling. It looks like real fruit. I'm doing a good job. The gnat likes it.
Or is it a fruit fly? It's a fruit fly.
I don't know.
I'm just joking.
Oh, it might be a fruit fly. That is so funny. Thank you for giving me the biggest compliment ever, Mr. Fly.
Okay, bye.
It's like, where's the sugar?
Sugar.
Got a little water drip going on there.
Drip, drip, water, water.
Oh, yeah. Cling, 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 cling. You're just chilling on my lemon. Gonna have to move in a minute. I feel like this needs to come out.
You will move, or I will move you.
Mr. Gnat. At home, I keep getting plant gnats, which drive me crazy because they are so annoying. They're just always there. They're in the soil, and so Paul, I need a mosquito, mosquito dunk from you.
Oh.
Because you can soak a mosquito dunk in a gallon of water, and I guess they're kind of hard to break up, but that's what you want to do. And then you water your plants with that water, and it kills the gnats. Mr. Gnat flew away.
What? They have thorns?
Oh, brownish black on them. It's city citrus mold. We use soap and water and then eat. Wow! They're also 1 inch to 1.5 inch spiky thorns on the branches. Oh, wow, I had no idea. So are the lemons that grow in Florida like the same variety that grow in like California? Don't lemons grow in California? Or are they strictly a Florida fruit?
I don't know where they're native to.
I know oranges grow in California. If you cross the border from Oregon to California, you're going to find lots of booths selling oranges.
Oh, I thought you were going to say police checking to see if you...
Oh, that's right. They do check that.
If you're bringing fruit.
Yeah, because there's like probably just like pesticide.
They're not pesticide, but pests.
Pest transfer. Oh, really? Like what kind? Spiders? That kind
like
of thing?
aphids and stuff like that.
Oh. Yeah, you're right. It wouldn't be pesticides. Pests. I'm going to add a drop of water to this.
Huh?
Your sister grows lemons in San Diego. We grew the giant Myers lemon, the nice fruit you see in the store, have been sprayed to look nice. Yeah. So Myers lemon, I found out, is a mix, like a crossbreed of like an orange and
Hybridization.
Is it orange and a lemon?
Yeah.
Greta and I recently found that out, and we're like, "Ooh, cool, let's try it." So we cut a slice off. We're like, "Ooh, no."
Still
It's
sour.
still very lemon heavy. But they are pretty. So pretty.
Where are lemons native to?
The apple maggot quarantine.
Well, not North America. That's Asia. Primarily Northeast India, Northern Myanmar, and China.
What is there?
That's where they're native.
Lemons?
Yes. So.
Super cool. I wonder who discovered lemonade.
Somebody went, wow, this is too sour. I need some sugar.
Like, these are good, but so sour. How can we make them palatable? Okay, dope. So we can come in with a little more high contrast shading if you want. That does get taken care of with this brown later on. But if you wanted to add some more just plain yellow ochre, I'd go easy on it. Maybe mix a little water with your paint.
Take it easy.
So you have more of a glaze.
Take it
Dab your brush off, and then redip the tip of the bristles. And yeah, this is just if you want to pick some areas to sort of up the shading contrast. And again, you can always soften everything up with a little hit of just plain yellow. I'm just working quick with choppy little brush strokes just to keep everything kind of loose and painterly. Nothing needs to be smoothed out. These can be rough lemons.
Open up by climbing in.
There's a whole episode of Red Dwarf that is about lemons. What is Red Dwarf?
Some show that Daniel watches.
Is that on YouTube?
I think it was on OPB.
Some educational show?
No, it was not.
Okay. Well, I'll have to find out about that. Painting question. I read that the cadmium colors are poisonous because of the cadmium. That can't be true of today's colors, can it?
It can be. It can be. Most of them are synthetic, but there are probably some oils that still use cadmium. Oh, speaking of colors and stuff, I'm going to throw this out there just as a cautionary tale.
Okay.
We may or may not be shifting our paints in the next couple of months.
We talked about that last week.
Yeah, but
just because we're running out of
we're
running out of these.
We don't know what we're going to go with though, so we'll try to let you guys. Let's plan on making a decision by the first of the month and posting about it.
Yeah, I had a watercolor company contact me too. They want me to do a video using their product, but I emailed them back and haven't heard back. I think you need to email the reply to the email that came into you.
Oh, that could be.
Okay, so let's get some lighter tones in here too. Yes, I love painting with watercolor. Teaching it is fairly new to me.
See, and that's one of those things that, according
but I want to do it.
Based on that email, it's the kind of thing that we would have a link to the product, and then when you guys buy it, we actually get a commission off of it too. So.
Yeah.
Hey.
Oh, easy. Okay, it's a comedy. You'd both like it. We'll have to try that. Okay, so I made a kind of a
it's a BBC thing.
Lemon curd or butter yellow. And this will be our highlight color. I'm going to start with this one since it's closest to what the light source would be way up here. And just dab it around, starting from the middle, like right in here, and then work, not the middle, but it's like the central area of the lighted zone. And dab it around. Maybe use less paint than I have on my brush. And maybe even a little lighter. Let's see what it would look like if I just use white. Because we do get to a point where we just use white. But yeah, I just did a nice juicy highlight there. Look at that. See that?
Juicy.
So let's use this kind of buttery yellow and come in and just hit the areas that would definitely be highlighted. And if you have any white canvas remaining, like I do, you'll want to cover those areas with that too. We do put white back on. Short, choppy brush strokes. You can leave bits of the yellow showing through, so I'm not using like a super heavy-duty coat. You can make a battery out of a lemon. Use lemons, copper, and zinc, and bada boom, bada bing, bingo, bango, bongo, boom shakalaka. You've got a rudimentary battery. Wow, you'd be ideal in a bug out situation. You'd be an ideal guy to have along.
I have a golf-related boom shakalaka story.
Okay.
You were there. We were up at Skamania Lodge and we were out hiking around the golf course and we heard this guy hit his drive and he yells, boom! And before he was even done yelling boom, I yelled from the woods, shakalaka! And they started laughing really hard. And of course, the reference to that nationally, there was a video game in the 90s called NBA Jam, and when they would dunk,
played a lot of that.
they would yell boom shakalaka. But then as Blazer fans, our longtime announcer for the Blazers, Brian Wheeler, used to yell boom shakalaka.
Boom shakalaka. Okay, got a couple parts here that I want to touch up with some just right out of the tube yellow. Softening up this area. And then if you find that you maybe overdid the highlight and you've lost some of that real true yellow, you can bring some of the just out of the tube yellow back in around that lighter color you just put on there. So just little dashes of it, little hints of it. Nothing like not covering up what you just did, but just adding some brightness back in there if you feel like you lost it and it became a little too beige.
Daniel wants to know what style of painting you would consider this.
It's not really realism. It's kind of like, I guess, expressionism maybe?
Yeah, postmodernism maybe.
It's got sort of, like my brush strokes I'm trying to keep sort of more impressionist style, but it's a lot more detailed than an impressionist painting, so we'll just call it expressionism. Okay, cool. I'm gonna get some white on there now, and then we'll start putting some branches. So I cleaned my number 8 brush, dried it off, and I'm just gonna dip it right in the white. Now the white has a skin on it, but it's going to be really bright compared to everything else, but it does blend in good. And what you want to do is you want to start think of like your central area here. Like when I think about what part of the lemon is highlighted, you can kind of see it. It's this circle. And I'm going to start in the middle of that circle and dab it around, and then just sort of tap, dab.
Give it a little tip
outward. And I want to keep this pretty concentrated because we don't want white lemons. We want it to definitely look like a shine. And lemons, as we know, have that texture. So when you're dabbing your brush like this, you are sort of indicating the texture a little bit. But I'm keeping that shine just kind of in a concentrated area. We get to come back and add more later. Wipe your brush off if you feel like you have too much paint. I'll just drag the paint around from the outside. So one of the things I love to do is, let's see, I'll do it with this one. Dab a little chunk of paint. Let me zoom in. So you can see it's got some texture. And I'll wipe my brush off on my towel, and then I just drag around the outside edges. And you can leave that center part kind of thick. So I'm just working with a small amount of paint that's on the outside edges of that globby splotch I just put on there. And then you can always come back with a little more yellow if you feel like your highlight got a little out of control. The nice thing is the colors will mix, the white and yellow will mix and you'll have a softened up area. But I love to do highlights that way. Splotch it on, wipe your brush off, and just pull from the outside edges really gently. Like you're dusting an artifact. You're Indiana Jones and you're dusting an artifact.
Hold on. Don't be stealing my lines
that
here.
was Paul's analogy he'd always use when he taught. And I was like, you are the king of weird analogies. And I'd tease him, and then he would be like at home, and I'd be like using the same analogies.
You're like, it works.
I like that. I like that, but I can't let Paul know because I teased him about it.
All of a sudden, a large part of my life makes sense now.
Too true. You had like so many analogies. They were so funny. So like one of the things that you said was like, this part of the painting is, and in fact, we are in this part, people. Right now, we're in this part that Paul would call, it's like growing out a bad haircut.
Oh, yeah. You envision the glorious locks of flowing, and instead you've just kind of got this roughy mullet. I also called it middle school.
Yeah, you did. I was trying to remember there was something about middle school age kids.
It's like, it's middle school. It's not the beginning process. It's not the adulthood. It's that awkward stage in between that doesn't belong anywhere.
Exactly. So I just noticed my lemon up here has a little dent in it, and I'm just going to come in with some white and smooth that out. And then what I will do when that dries is I will paint yellow over the top. So if you ever have that situation where you're having to go over dark paint, do it that way. Just do white, let it dry, and then come back and paint the color over the top. So yes, the lemons are rough right now. They definitely have a nice shading and highlighting going on, but very rough as far as the outlines and all of that. But we are going to move now towards branches, and then after branches we can start actually outlining these lemons. So let's talk about color. We need to make a brown, and I have found the best way to make brown with the colors, this Daler Rowney kit, is you make orange with magenta and yellow, or if you're using your own colors, red and yellow, and you just stir a little black into it. There we go. Nice reddish orange. And then, oh wow, this is like literally like a chocolate chip.
Yeah. Don't eat it, Jenny.
And then I'm going to just add a little bit of black. You can see that turned it really quick. And from here you can decide if you want it to be more of a red brown, you'll add some more magenta. If you want it to be more of a yellow brown, more yellow. You can even add some of this to it, the yellow ochre. This looks pretty good to me, but I am going to add maybe like 3 drops of water and slowly cry while this dries really fast on my palette. And I'm going to just set my brush down there and switch to a smaller brush. Probably most of you would feel comfortable with your littlest brush for drawing the stems. What did you say? Your green used to look like a fish. now it's fish poop. So I'm going to take my smallest brush, which I think I'm using Paul's brush because it's really frayed and bad. Let me see yours.
I beat the shit out of it.
Let me see your little brush. That might be mine. Yes. Take your ragged piece of crap brush back. Okay, so dip the brush in water and swirl it around in your paint color. And we're going to just right off the top here, you're going to give it a little hat. little cone-shaped hat. And then this is going to come up and curve over. And you can make it go off the canvas, or you can leave it like these have been picked and they're just sitting on some wacky tablecloth or something.
Jenna, how are you doing on beverages?
I'm fine. I'm fine on my beverage. And then you can bring this down and just let it meet here. And then I assume when these are picked, that's what gives you that little belly button thing. Don't lemons have those too, the little belly button navel thing?
Yeah.
This is the umbilical cord. Technically it is. So then I'm going to branch off of here because I put a leaf there later. Or this can be those crazy thorns Kim talked about. Scary. Didn't know lemons were so scary. And then I have one here. You can do the triangular hat thing. And this one, I have it going, like, it's weird. My original, like, joins up with that. And I guess that's technically how it would grow. But here I am avoiding those two joining. So we're changing things up. So if you want to be like the original, just bring this over and join it into this branch. But if you want to be rogue and crazy like me.
Oh, stop. You're so crazy.
And you can add some little branchlings because that gives us more opportunities for leaves. And I do have this random branch here. Trying to remember why I added it. There was some reason. I was thinking thoughts. But I'm not ready to add that yet because I have some more texturizing I want to do with that one. So let's leave it for now.
Well, Kim said it.
What's that?
They look like nipples.
Yes, they do. So I do have a little branch coming out here just for decoration on the painting.
Can't take Kim anywhere.
And then I just have a bunch of leaves. So this feels really devoid of branches. So I am going to add, this one would have one that's going to come out the top here. And I'm going to give it some leafy stations here. And then my branches on this one are a little...
Oh, it was Mark, and he's playing the retirement card.
My branches on this one I feel are a little thin. And they gotta hold these heavy lemons with their heavy nipples. So I'm going to...
Can we milk the lemons?
Yep, Mark can say anything now that he's retired.
Can he yell at people to get off his lawn?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Let me check my photos. I can't remember if I did leaves next or outlining. Okay. I didn't indicate to myself. Pretty sure I did outlining. I don't think it matters. You know what? I'm going to do leaves next because that way you won't have to waste a bunch of outlining. But just keep in mind we will be using this color in just a bit. So clean your brushes. I'll clean this one too. Watch that paint dry up. We're going to use this color, but we're going to add a little more black to it. So we'll probably just mix a whole new batch because I think that'll be dried out by the time we get to what we're going to do next. So I was proud of my lemon leaves. I feel like they look very like Renaissance-y. They kind of look like those Renaissance paintings that have naked people and leaves.
Wow, now we went from nipples to naked people, leaves.
Yes.
It is an
covering
art
all
class.
the topics. Covering all the art topics.
It is an art class.
So I have quite a few leaves and they're varying in size. And Why did Daniel says it's unseasonably cold here in Florida. You're not in Florida. Okay. Mixing colors. I need some fresh cyan. We'll need some yellow and some yellow ochre. So if you are like me and all your paint's getting really dry, give yourself a fresh little dollop.
A dollop of daisy. I don't know where that came from.
It was the nipple joke. Oh. Okay. I catch on, but I'm slow. Okay, so we're gonna make a deep green. So we'll do the cyan color. Now let's mix the yellow ochre. It's gonna give you a muted bluish green. And when we throw the yellow in there now, you're gonna get more of a true green. So just take the yellow, step by step. So 3 colors we have. We have cyan, yellow ochre or raw sienna, and the bright yellow color. So you should have something like this.
Holy
I feel
shnikes.
like, did you just bump the table?
Well, but then I remembered that the camera's attached to the table, so it didn't really matter.
So I feel like I could add a little more yellow in there. And then if you want, you can add either black or scrape off some of this brown.
I'd like to add some black, but mine's like a black gumdrop on the palette.
You do want to deepen it up a little bit to get these Renaissance leaves.
It pooped.
And you can use any of your small brushes to draw them out. So let's do it. I'll just take my smallest brush, and we'll start with some of these little ones up here that are a little easier. So let me zoom in. Take your little brush, dip it in water, blot it on the towel so it's just nice and refreshed. Dip it in your deep green color you made. So let me show you the color right there. So we used cyan, yellow ochre, yellow, and a little bit of black or even a little of this brown just to deepen that up. You can see the original color there. And then next to it, the more swamp green. So I like to do these sort of wavy leaves that look like a little flag. Like that. And then you can fill it in. Might add a drop of water or two to your paint you just made. And I'll do, oh, I was totally off the camera. I apologize. I'll do one right here. This one's going to be more of an almond shape. So we're looking at leaves at different angles. And one of the things, looking at pictures of lemons and lemon paintings, some of them had these kind of scalloped leaves, so it would be like this. And I kind of liked that look. See, painting question. Yellow ochre is the same as raw sienna. They are basically the same. I can substitute the two, and the only way I tell a difference is like the Daler paint is thicker than the Blick paint. So yes, you can absolutely substitute those two colors without any issues.
Well,
here comes Paul with the well.
You will find that a yellow ochre, when you mix it with blue, you're going to get more greenish tones than if you use raw sienna.
Oh, yeah. I guess that is probably true.
Because raw sienna...
I make a pretty good green with raw sienna.
...is technically a shade of brown.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
But for all intents and purposes, they are very, very interchangeable.
Mm. So I have a leaf dilemma. I have a leaf right here that comes off of a branch that we put in later. Let's let's skip that one for just a second.
So I'm kind of a little bit confused.
Why?
Are the branches going down or coming up?
I don't know.
They kind of seem to be doing both.
They're just thrown on the table. Okay, so I have this kind of fun leaf right here that's sort of scalloped. Let's just have fun with it. So I'm going to curve it out here. And then it's going to come down to a little curved point. So you're just sort of paralleling, like I did this funky little curved line, and then you're just sort of paralleling it with the other line.
Yes, in theory, the brown could make it. I would just say the brown is more neutral. It's kind of like Payne's Gray. We haven't talked about Payne's Gray, which in my opinion is the best
We talked about it last week.
ever invented.
I've got the opportunity for a nice big leaf right here. It's probably my favorite leaf in the whole painting. You can see it just tucked right in there. And we're gonna go for it's probably the biggest one on here. And it comes out behind here and it's just going to, let me outline it in a darker color so that you guys can see it. I want you to paint it in your green, but I'm gonna outline mine in a darker color so that you can see it a little more clearly. So I'm doing the whole ruffled shape. Part of it might go behind all these other lemons. And it's going to come down to a point and come back.
So you guys, I
Use a bigger brush to fill that in.
had an incident on Monday.
Oh my gosh.
I
He did.
So we've been in the process of refinancing our home. We're just consolidating our debt, getting
And
our
we haven't
acts together.
refinanced in like 15 years or
been a
something
long
like
time.
that.
And so I come into work on Monday morning. I'm like, oh, well, looks like the fish, because I've got my swimming pool with fish in my other warehouse. And I'm like, it looks like they need some water. So I set up the hose, turned it on, and thinking, oh, let this run for a little while. And then the mortgage guy calls, and he needs all this information. So I'm like, oh, God, I thought I already sent all that stuff, and blah, 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 blah. I'm going to walk over and get a cup of coffee so I can process all this. Walk over, get a cup of coffee, come back, start dealing with it, and working on stuff. Then I start dealing with customers. Next thing you know, my landlord walks in, and he's like, you have that other warehouse, right? And I'm like, yeah. And I said, oh, is there water coming out under the door? And he goes, yes, and it's also going under the wall into your neighbor's. And I was like, oh shit. So, anyway, push comes to shove. I forgot the hose, let it run for probably 2 hours.
Oh my gosh, you told me 1 hour.
I had no idea at that point. So I go running over, and he had turned the hose off, so that was good.
I'm just going to do a little leaf over here.
Do it.
Little branch.
And so I go into the neighbor's first, and it didn't look too bad. It was, some water on the floor. Nothing major. They just have like commercial carpet on concrete. It wasn't like it was a big deal. And it's the school bus barn. Anyway, so I go to look in my warehouse, and I see that there's at least, I'm going to call it 3/4 of an inch of standing water in the whole 60-foot by 30-foot warehouse. And so my first thought is, can I walk through here, because do I have any extension cords plugged in that are down on the ground, and is this whole pool of water electrified? And I was like, no, everything's good. So anyway, but Jenny came down and helped me a little bit.
Yeah, I used a shop broom, and that wasn't working very good. I used the wet vac, but Paul had to bring it over to the neighbors. So I was like, okay, Greta and I are going to go get a squeegee on a stick. And so we went over to Wilco, and Wilco is a little farm store here, and it had baby chicks. And Greta had to look at every single baby chick. And so by the time we got back with the squeegee Paul had everything vacuumed
By the time they got back with the $50 squeegee, I had it mostly cleaned up. Now the upside is, after I had talked to the neighbors and I was like, look, I got to get the standing water in my space taken care of first so it stops coming under your wall. And they were cool with that. One of the ladies that worked there, her husband came down and helped vacuum up her office.
That's nice.
Yeah, and in the end, I mean, he did it after I'd already shot back their space. I probably sucked up 2.5, maybe 3 gallons of water out of their carpet, which really is not that much if you think about it, compared to the probably 300 gallons.
The fishes are fine.
The fish are all good. They're all happy. They've got lots of fresh water. And the upside is I have the cleanest warehouse floor I've had in a long time.
They got impromptu mopping.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick, I realize now why I added this branch that I was telling you earlier. I don't know why I added it. And I added it to add a leaf. Because I felt like it was a little unbalanced. All the leaves are like weird and kind of in one area. And so I'm going to continue this branch down here. And we'll just say that it's just some rogue thing that wants to be part of this. And I'm using the brown. I had to remix some, and it's not a super great shade.
And I just have to tell you guys all that financing a home when you're self-employed,
it is a pain in the ass.
it is a
Good
pain
Lord.
in the ass.
They act like you don't have a job.
They literally requested my marketing plan so that they could appraise how I acquire clients.
I keep dragging my sleeve in the paint. I think, I do. I am painting all my clothes tonight.
You should just get fully tatted, and then you don't have to worry about wearing your kimonos. You have all the color you would need.
Okay. So now I'm going to add the leaf that I wanted to add.
Let's do a puff and paint class sometime. You want to do that?
I don't know. I don't like pot. I don't like the taste
Let's
of it.
do edible and
Okay.
let's do it.
Let's go ahead and add this other leaf. It's gonna come
Oh my
off
gosh.
of here.
My one lemon looks like Stewie from Family Guy.
Awesome.
Look.
Hold on, I'm in mid brushstroke. Oh yeah, totally. You got long lemons. So this one is going to have a fun little arch and then come right down to a point.
Jenny, what inspired you to paint lemons this month?
So Jen Welton is one of our long-term
Long time.
fans, going back to like 2011 when we first opened
She
this
loved us long time.
studio space. And she's been to a ton of live classes. We'll drive all the way from where she lives, which is in the gorge, far away. And she occasionally messaged me with painting, like, hey, if you need any painting inspiration. And she mentioned that she really liked the oranges painting we did a couple years ago, and would love lemons or some other kind of fruit to go along with that. And so I thought, you know what, that's a great idea.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
So I love when I'm able to use suggestions from people. She actually suggested the betta fish too. I might have, or beta fish. I might have mentioned that.
Betta is an appropriate way of saying it.
I might have mentioned that.
I didn't know that.
Video. Yeah, because I had done one up at Skamania Lodge when you were
that's right.
teaching,
Yeah.
and she really liked it and had saved a photo of it. So I created one that was just for us. I used a very similar color palette. Yeah, how did the fish not float away? They must have just stayed.
So, because the water spills out over the edge, there's not enough water surface that goes above for them to get out.
Got it.
So,
Okay, let's go ahead and add some highlights or segments to our leaves. So I'm talking about these little things.
The pool did not break.
That's good.
Because that would have been a big mess.
So I've got my green here. I'm going to pull in a little more yellow and yellow ochre. So you get this kind of weird color. Kind of like an avocado that's been left out without plastic covering it. And I'll start with this one. So I'm just going to swoop that color down here and leave. See how I'm leaving lines in between?
I think the landlord went into the warehouse and probably saw my pool and was like, what the heck?
Oh, was your warehouse open?
Yeah, because the hose was in it. I haven't heard back from him, though. I kind of...
He's like, dumb.
He's like, you know you gotta be careful with this stuff. I'm like, no shit, Sherlock.
He's kind of dumb. We'll just say it. He's not ever gonna watch this.
No, he's a mouth breather. Like, legit.
Okay, right here. Really, we're just kind of making these striped, I guess. And just adding a little more depth and dimension to them. You can even add some bright yellow if you want as a highlight.
I just want to point out that I am getting hungry.
That's good.
I'm looking forward to... Jenny and I make a tradition of eating out after our classes.
Yeah, we go to a little local brewery usually.
I might suggest that we go to the other place.
How come? How come?
I'm thinking air conditioning.
Oh yeah. Okay, so let's keep going here.
Sorry.
Just adding little leaf segments. Breaking these up a little bit. So if you think of it, and this might help you, if you were to take your dark brown color or even a little black, and if you were to draw a line down the middle, like kind of like when we draw leaves when we're kids, it has the vein down the middle, and then use this highlight color, and the highlight color is coming off the vein. And that's how you get your little leaf. So it might be more helpful for you to draw the line in the middle first. See, that one turned out a lot better than the one under it. But I'm going to fix that up. What I'm going to do to that one is come in with dark color, like black or brown. A little water. And come down the middle of that. And that helps already, but then I can sort of touch up how these go. I could even take this, I think I did this a little on the original, and you can go in the little paint and draw the little veins. We have a tradition of going to bed.
What?
I'm just reading the comments.
Oh.
So these, as they dried a little darker, the ones that were on this leaf, so I'm just going to refresh those. And up here, really all you need is just a couple highlights. Nothing fancy on these little guys. There we go. One thing you can do that is not on my original, you can use a little brush like your number 4 and the yellow ochre, and you can add a highlight to, like a little scratchy highlight to the branches, some of these larger ones. Especially if they just look like just dark lines on a lighter background, this will help. All right. Let's go ahead now, and we're going to start outlining the lemons, and I will show you how to do it. Years ago, a couple years ago, I had a painting called Morning Wishes, and we did bubbles. And the bubbles were done. The bubbles were done very much how we are going to do the outlines. We used kind of a watercolor thing. I'm adding another leaf just because as I looked at this, I felt like it needed one. Just a little guy. I'll highlight that later. Okay. Let's mix a color. So pick up a bigger brush, like maybe your number 8. And I need some fresh black. This ink is dry, so I'm going to put some black there, and then I have magenta and yellow there. So I'll scrape both of those off, and we're going to make our orange color. Could use a little more yellow, maybe. If I can get any. And then some black. You know, keep adding black. You want it a little bit darker than your branch color, unless you had a really dark branch color. But you definitely want it looking brown and not black. It can be off black. Okay, let me tilt that. And I'm going to add lots of water to it. Lots and lots. We want it really watery. So I have a lot of water added in there. Super, like if I tilt it, it probably would, yep, I can see it's gonna start running off. Like that. Okay.
Hey, watch it.
So I'm gonna use the smallest brush. Let's start with, actually let's start with the one that doesn't have a lot of shading on it. So we'll start with this one. First, let me cover this with yellow like I talked about doing earlier. Okay, so your watered down brown, just put a little bit on your smallest brush, and you're gonna come along here. I'm gonna skip that area because I just added fresh yellow there. And you're gonna work quick. You wanna wash your brush off and just use the wet brush, like you dab it on your paper towel, but just use the damp brush and you're gonna pull this inward. And you might find using like your number 4 brush would be good. So this is how we are outlining without having harsh lines. So it's just pulling that shading inward. So this is where you want to keep a lot of water mixed in your paint, because that's going to help you have a more subtle outline. A lot of water mixed in your paint, and keep your pressure really light, because you don't want a super thick line, because otherwise you'll end up dragging a whole lot of brown into your lemon. Some of them have quite a bit of brown, like this one down here. Let's have a look. How much brown is on that one? And it just creates some nice depth. So I don't want you to worry too much about having too much brown. You can use your number 4 brush if you like that better for using like the thin edge and doing the outline. But you want to work pretty quick. Clean your brush, dry it off, then use the damp brush and just pull that color inward, leaving the sharp edge on the outside of the lemon, but sort of hazing out. Let me zoom in. That's what I should have done a minute ago, sorry. Just wanted to get right into it, I guess. So I'm just letting my brush run out of paint as I pull this inward. And you can always go back to a clean, dry brush, or damp dry, and use some yellow.
Good luck on that one.
Good luck on that one. And glaze over anything that feels a little harsh to you. Really light paint, not a lot of pressure, not a lot of paint. And then if you want to create what Mark called the nipple, which I don't know what end this is on the lemon, but there is like one end that's got this little
I'm gonna
nub.
guess it's the non-stem end.
Yeah, so it's got this little nub like that. And I didn't even go all the way across. I just sort of hinted at a little line here. You could like even hint at it on the other side, but you don't have to touch those two lines. I mean, they don't have to touch. The lemon nipple. There you go. So that one is pretty much done with the shading. The only thing I could think of that I could do if I wanted to really nitpick it is I could come in and just glaze over certain areas. Mix up maybe some of that light yellow color, the butter yellow, like up in here. And if you do glaze over, just use very little paint and take it just step by step. If your lemons start looking like they're rotting, like too much brown, then yeah, bring some yellow back in here just to soften everything up and make it look like it's more like we were intending on shading and less like we were wanting to make these lemons rot. Pretty cool. I feel like I could, this has more of an outline and less shading inward, so I could come back in with some of my really watered down paint and just keep refreshing your paint with water. It's a great way to outline without having it look too cartoony. So I'll go along here now, separate these two. And you might just work in segments because the paint dries so fast. So before I outline the rest of the thing, I might add a little shadow from this leaf too. That would technically happen. So just remember, before you start pulling this color inward, you want to wash your brush and dry it off so that you just have a damp brush. Keep your outlines pretty thin. Clean the brush, dab it dry real quick. You can always add more paint if you feel like you're not getting enough shading. And the other thing you can do is use like your number 4 brush. This is probably the most complicated part of the painting. I don't know, you guys will probably let me know for sure, I think, if like other parts of it were more complicated. I am curious. It's not a style I do a lot with this sort of outlining. I'm coming in here with a heavier bit because I want this lemon to shade. It needs to cast a shadow down onto this one. And I'm going to clean that brush and just sort of haze out that shadow. So it's less committed. It's there, but it's not like a super sharp shadow. And this leaf is definitely going to drop a shadow down. This would probably cast a shadow, but we're not going to worry about that. I do love the way this ends up looking, though. How about you, Paul?
Oh, I'm having fun with mine.
Okay, now I'm going to create this little funky part here. It's just a suggestion of it, and you want to do kind of the same thing if you have a real harsh outline. Just sort of soften it up with a damp brush. I'm dripping water all over. Let me clean that up. Splotchy lemons. Actually, it'd probably be okay to have that on there. I'm gonna clean up something real quick. Add a little more shading here. So a lot of times I'll add paint and then just dry my brush off on the towel and then come back and manipulate it.
I feel like I'm prospecting, looking for new paint.
I know. Well, we've got all the bottles right here.
I know, but I'm trying to not dive in for extra if I don't need to.
Remember, you can always go back to yellow. You need to glaze over and soften the edge of anything. Okay, 2 lemons down. This is definitely a fairly time-consuming part, but it's well worth it. Add a drop of water back into your paint on occasion just to make sure it's refreshed. Oops, that was thick, but that's okay because this one's going to actually have a lot of shade on the top edge of it. So again, I'm working in segments mainly because of the quick drying on the paint. This one's going to be casting a shadow down onto this guy. So I actually have quite a bit of heavier shading under there. You can see right here, quite a bit heavier. So with that one, you can use quite a bit of paint on your brush. I'm using my number 4. And we want to avoid this. We want to avoid this sharp outline. So I'm going to show you how to fix that up in just a second. See, I should go into the background a little bit here. My lemon has a light colored halo around it because I was a little too careful around adding the background color around it. Okay, I'm going to wash the brush, dry it off, and then just sort of pull this around and shade it in so I don't have any sharp edges. You might have to dry your brush off again and again because the paint has a lot of water mixed in it already. So as you spread it out, your brush gets loaded up with water. And then you might find that you have to add more paint back on because your damp brush just worked as a sponge and absorbed it all. Kind of neat how the shading, if you blotch it, it can just be a normal deformation deformation on the lemon. You're absolutely right. I want to avoid that. So it looks like my lemon has like bangs. And so what I'm going to do is I cleaned my brush off and I'm just eliminating any harsh lines. And I will go back and I'm going to add just a tiny bit of black up in there. You can see how dark it is on here. I added a little bit of black just because it was doing the same thing as happening right now, where it was sort of not working its way towards being dark enough. And this area is pretty wet right now. I'm going to dry my brush off really good and just pull the edges of this color outward. Now he's got bangs and sideburns. He needs a little face. I remember on this last one having some trouble where the lemon was looking slightly rotted because of how much dark color I wanted on there. And we'll be able to come back with a little yellow. I'm going to use a little bit bigger brush. So yeah, what I'm talking about with the rotting color is right in here where the lemon is, yes, it looks shaded, but it also looks like it's gotten kind of muddy, especially right up here. So I'm going to let that dry for a bit and move on to another one, and then we'll come back and fix this one up with a little bright yellow. I'm going to darken up this area just a little.
Newsflash, it's dry.
Yeah. Actually, this area on mine is really wet. But this is a really fun technique to experiment with if you tend to be where you chronically sharply outline objects and you want them to look more shaded and a little more natural. I'm not saying this painting is super duper natural, but this is a technique I love to use for this kind of shading. And then I look at it, like I feel like this one's really good. I like that one a lot. This one I have a little bit of a hard line there with the shading, which I tend to try and avoid. So I'm going to come back in with a little yellow and see what I can do there. Soften that up. Dab it on even. That works pretty good. This one's got a little sharp end to it. Okay, 2 more left to do. And the leaves, you can play around with those as much as you want too. They could have a lot more highlights put on them. But let's move along to the other lemons. Here we go. I'm going to go back to my smallest brush and work my way around this one. Thin line to start. Not a lot of pressure, but a lot of water. I'm going to outline about half of it. And then I'm finding that I like the flat brushes a little bit better for pulling the dark color inward. You might be opposite. You might like the little round brush for that. Find what you like and do it. Let me zoom in a little. Get up close and personal with this canvas. This is a really nice transformative part though that I really, really like. I even like doing it. It's kind of therapeutic. Wouldn't you say, Paul, after your week of flooding warehouses, isn't it kind of therapeutic?
Yeah, I suppose. I mean, painting's always therapeutic for me.
Yeah.
So.
You can tell my paint is needing to have some more water mixed with the actual puddle that's on my palette because it's pretty highly pigmented. Lemon looks like it has, yeah, 5 o'clock shadow. That one did. A simple portrait of Elton John. That would be fun, actually. I like that idea. I could, like, kind of make it, like you said, simple, but kind of almost abstract. We'll do glasses and a feather boa. Simple face. I will file that away in my head. So I'm thinking this leaf is probably going to cast a little bit of a shadow, but we don't want a harsh line. I'm going to use a clean, dry brush. Wipe that harsh line away. And this one up here, just outline this edge of it, and it's going to be casting a pretty dark shadow under here, just like we did with sideburns over here. So all of this in here is going to be pretty dark in shadow. Somehow they always end up looking like they've got bangs. Now I'm going to take my dryish clean number 8 brush and haze out the edges of this. And then what I'll plan on doing is coming back in just a few as a finishing touch and getting a little more yellow on here just to glaze over any spots that look like rotten lemon.
Oh,
Rotten Lemons. There's a band. Rotten Lemons. You can call it. That's a cool band name. Do you remember there was Lemonheads? Was that a band?
Yeah.
In the 90s? Evandondo?
Yeah.
Lemonheads.
I'm trying to remember what song they did. They did they do Iris?
I don't think so. I think Iris was
The Goo Goo Dolls.
yeah, Goo Goo Dolls. Let's see. I think I could do something, Daniel, that's not super difficult for teaching. Something that's just kind of fun. We need to do some fun paintings. Some that'll make us laugh.
Ha 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 ha.
Okay, moving along to the upper lemon. Refresh your puddle of paint with some water if needed. Let me scoot this down. And this one has a lot of light on it because it's right up at the top, so we don't need to do a lot of crazy shading like we had to do on these two bottom ones. I like to shade around the stem here so you can't really tell like where it starts. Because I don't really know what they look like. I'd have to look at a picture. So if we shade it enough, no one has to know. It's a little band-aid.
Nobody's got to know.
Nobody got to know about it.
This could be our milk.
And I feel like my little end pieces, I've been doing the lines a little too harsh, so I'm going to use a smaller brush and try not to overdo it. Hey, where's Sid been lately, Paul?
I don't know.
Does she have access? Like regular access to the...
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to figure it out. Paul's sister. Okay. Looking good. Looking good.
Who are the people in your neighborhood? I don't know where that came from.
I'm just going through now and just sort of touching up any spots I see that I didn't notice earlier, but will notice now. Darkening up anything that I feel like needs a little extra touch. So you're really using your damp brush as like a smudging tool, like you would use Photoshop or something. I think we need to name one of these lemons. I suggest Meadowlark is the name. Dawn for the other one. Liz is another one. I like Bartholomew.
Do you know? But do you
Bartholomew.
know who Meadowlark Lemon is, Jimmy?
No.
He's one of the Harlem Globetrotters.
Oh gosh, like I would know that.
One of the OG.
Okay, now I'm going to zoom out, and there's a lot more you could keep going back and working on, but we don't want to go too over time. I will tell you, this is really distracting.
What is?
This. Oh, it's so pointy.
It's a nipple. It looks like my elbow.
It's because Mark said it, and now I can't unsee it.
It looks like my elbow.
I need some yellow.
Good luck.
I found some. There. Still kind of bad. Okay. Oh yeah, I know Dawn Lemon. Okay, let's go ahead now and go back in any spot you want to soften up. You want to use your number 8 brush, and you want to dry it off really good. And you want a fresh little dot of yellow. Probably a fresh little dot of raw sienna or yellow ochre. Not much, just a little. And use your number 8 brush. Make sure it's dried off. Go in and like around these edges where the brown is, especially some of the lemons where the brown is really there, because it's a lot of shading, and you can kind of soften the edges up a little bit. And then some areas, like right here, it got really muddy right there, and what I want to do in that case is make this base color, which was, it was yellow and white mixed together. Let's see, I'm running out of room. So we made kind of a, I think I called it buttercream, whatever. And you don't want a lot of paint on your brush, and I have a lot from mixing, so I'm going to wipe that off and then come in and just tap and dab the brush upward to soften anything that is in that color range. But yeah, this regular old yellow works great.
Okay, I'm done.
Da, 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 da.
Finished.
Sign it. I'm
I
almost
did.
done. One thing you can do too, if you have more time, you can go in and you can add a little extra highlight to some of your leaf veins. Totally optional, but I wouldn't add it to every single one, just make a few pop. And I wouldn't overthink it. I'm just going through really fast before my brain can catch up and tell me to stop. And now we're just going to texturize these lemons. It's real easy and fast, and it's 100% optional. So let's look. You see all the little dotty texture? Like you especially notice it there. And I've got it in the white too. And that's just using the brush to indicate the peel texture. Like I said, totally optional. You might like it like this and just be like, I'm not going to do that. I want to leave it like this. I would suggest, so I used the yellow ochre down in here, and then I used white in the highlight part. The white looks nice. The yellow ochre, maybe mix a little of your lemon yellow with it, just so it's not such a harsh color. Start out with a color that's more mid-range.
Mid.
It's mid. Start with a mid color. Dab your brush off on the towel, and then just come in on the lower part, like the lower left area of each lemon. Let me zoom in. And literally, not a lot of paint on the brush, you're just sort of poking it on there. Decide if you like that or if you feel like, no, that's not for me. You can always soften it up with some yellow. And I'm not going to go heavy on these. I'm just going to add a few hints on each lemon. Like, hey, yes, I know they're textured and I didn't forget. I added it here and here. Now, what lemon company do I need to contact and tell them, I made you a new
Country
logo.
Time. We'll just go to Country Time
So
lemonade.
you can soften up any of these that feel kind of harsh just with a little plain yellow. Just dab it on right along there with the other stuff. You can even use the same brush stroke where you're just dabbing, or you can smooth it on there. I've got a couple here that I wasn't super in love with.
I wonder if Country Time Lemonade still uses it. In the summertime, when the summer's down.
I have never heard that, so I'm not. Okay, same thing with the white, and then we'll be done. One thing like I could do after I'm done is I could come back in and touch up these areas where I left a little background, got a little bit there. But I'm not going to do that on this video. That's just one of those things you can do later. Other things, like I've got yellow right here, so I want to soften up this little ledge here. And this might be something that you have to repeat layers until it gets softened to the amount that you like. But I'm going to add the texture with the white, and this part I actually really do like a lot. So you can see it there on each one. Just that like citrus mist. It's not, it's the peel texture. But go ahead and dab it around this white area and extend outward a little bit, even up into the brown just a tiny bit if you have that. Up here, it's a good spot where it will really show up. A lot of paint on my brush. This is the one where we added the branch and I thought, oh, how am I going to do this? But then I realized, oh, we can totally just do this around it. Oops, I'm off the screen again. Turkey lemons. Definitely. That's the name of the painting I needed. Oh my gosh, perky lemons. I was like racking my brain, like thinking of some kind of clever name for this that had the word lemons in it, and like all I could come up with like stupid things. So I was like, I'm just gonna call it lemons. Perky lemons would have been perfect. Alrighty, it's sign-in time. Just knowing I could probably come back and touch up a few spots. Let's see, what color am I going to sign it in? I think I'm going to sign it in magenta. Oh, that's what I signed it, my last one in. Wait, I don't have any magenta.
I don't either.
Blue. My magenta's all dried out.
Sign it all for one.
Actually, mine looks pretty cool. Don't give me that. Don't take it from me.
No, I'm taking your original.
No. Give it to me. I want to see how close it is.
You're gonna have to zoom out.
Yeah.
Girlfriend.
Pretty close. Surprisingly, I think my leaves have stronger highlights on this, so that's probably something I would do with this one. And got some sharp, pointy ends on this one.
You guys are gonna be shocked when you see mine.
All right, let's look. Paul's Crazy Lemons. Oh my gosh, what's up with that one?
But look a little
I like
close.
it. It's got a little singing.
Look.
Ooh, there's a spider. Oh my gosh. Let's zoom in. You guys see the little spider?
You gotta put the you gotta put it down so that the light hits it.
Trying to.
And there's a spider web up in the.
All of your lemons are going, ooh. They're scared of the spider.
They're blinded by the light.
Oh. They are singing. This you could turn into a pufferfish.
Totally. I had fun with that.
I'm curious about what this. So, what made you decide to do the background this sort of 1980s, like track coat? That's exactly what it is.
I don't know. I just decided, like, I was gonna do like a concrete wall, but then I was like, no, let's do more fun. And then I grabbed the palette knife and I just started doing all the colors. And I was just like, okay,
All of the colors.
let's make it look like a graffiti wall in the background.
Have you guys thought about showing how you'd fix an old painting, finish an unfinished one? I'm still waiting to finish one of the ones I did a few weeks ago, but I don't want it to look even more like a second layer. Ooh, what painting is that? You'll have to let us know. And yes, I think that fixing paintings would be a cool
So,
thing.
to give you an idea,
I like the shadows from the leaves.
yeah, but painting is like, let me grab the painting I've been working on because I like to show off.
Every 80s mom had a coat with this pattern on it.
What are you talking about? I had a windbreaker look just
Yeah,
like
that's
that.
what they were. They were windbreakers. You guys see the spider? That's really fun.
So I've been working on this painting, and we'll have to switch the camera so we can see it. But just so you guys see, that painting is kind of like, more often than not, it's a multi. Here we go. So I've been working on this painting for about 3 weeks now.
I like that one.
Yeah, but there's a lot of process that goes into doing like this kind of a painting, and it's like what's important is like, so when I'm working on it, like I've got 2 paintings in progress. Let me grab the other one right now. That I am very careful to make sure that the colors I'm using are only used for each painting. So, and then I'm working on this Multnomah Falls painting, and they're different color palettes that I'm using. So the key to working on a painting and finishing it is like, maybe if you need to just take notes of what colors you're using on a specific painting. I tend to just like set them out, and like I have 2 shelves next to my workstation that are like, one is for one painting, the other one's for the other painting, as far as where I keep the paint, so I know which ones I'm using. But
Thanks, Kim.
when you come back in and you start working on a painting you've been working on, when you mix color, sometimes you have to kind of go, oh, well, that's not exactly the way I had it the first time, so then you just find little ways to incorporate it throughout a little bit so that it looks like it belongs there. But it's something that really making sure that you always have the same colors.
I just saved my palette.
Yeah, and that helps too. Like save your palette and just keep mixing on the same palette, because you can kind of compare where you're mixing. That works really well.
Yeah, so like these that we use, the paint dries out on them, and I just put paint over the top, unless I have to have white underneath to mix a certain color. But
I tend to also, like the paintings I'm working on, they're like bigger pieces like that. I tend to use less color.
Yeah.
So then it's like that first one I showed it's actually just these same colors. So anyway, guys, yeah, we should talk about that sometime. Maybe we should do a painting that we do half of it one week and half of it the next week or something, so that we can like talk about like picking up. Because like when we were in art school, we would go to the studio, and we would each have a little slot where we could store paintings, and we would often be working on multiple paintings at a time.
Yeah,
and
there was one that took me like 3 months.
Yeah, I mean that's something that I've really started doing just in the last like 2 months or so. Is I have a station at my work
When he's not flooding his warehouse.
when I'm not flooding the warehouse, but I'm spending more time like actually painting for myself, and and maybe I only work like maybe 5 or 10 minutes a day sometimes, and sometimes it'll be an hour. Just depends on the day, and if I have time. If it's a slow day at work, maybe I'll crank the tunes a little bit more and paint a little bit more. But yeah, I've been working on that first one actually I've started working on the waterfall one. It's been almost 2 months I've been working on that one.
Yeah.
But and that's something I would encourage you guys to do is you know, since we're done with our painting and people are going to check out and whatever, that's fine. But I think that's one of the things that I feel like picking on Bob Ross a little bit. He's kind of made everybody think that you do a painting in a half an hour.
Yeah, well.
No, like, I mean, you can, but I think most, like, you start looking at gallery pieces and stuff that people do, especially, I mean, I don't know, if I were doing those paintings to, like, actually, like, try to put in a gallery, I'd probably put a minimum of, what do you think, 15 hours?
Yeah, probably.
20 hours?
20 or so.
And those paintings are 18 inches by 36, so for that size painting, yeah, 15 to 20 hours minimum would be what I would expect to put into a painting like that. And that's a minimum. You could easily put 40 to 80 hours into a painting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, definitely.
And then you start getting bigger, and if you're working with oil paints, that's why you see like a lot of you hear about like Monet, and he'd have 9 or 10 paintings in progress at one time, because he would couldn't just sit and paint on one painting, but what I'm finding is doing these additional paintings, and Jenny's doing some other stuff. Jenny does more commission stuff, but I find that it helps me get through the humps of coming up with new ideas for our painting, because that first painting I showed you guys totally inspired this painting that we did last week. So anyway, I'm rambling.
You are rambling. I was going to give you a lollipop.
And I'm hungry.
Well, Kim, you guys have a blast. Congrats on the retirement for Mark. Let's see what you just said. You have 2 16 by 20s you're working on. Save my palettes to make sure you mix the same color. Yep, I'll share. I would love to see. Oh, you're welcome. I'm so glad. So glad that people are learning some skills.
And honestly, like, on what I would tell people, like, if you're venturing out to paint on your own, buy the biggest canvas you feel comfortable spending money on.
Go big or go home, I guess.
Yeah. Because, like, I would say, what's the next size up from 16 by 20? It's like 18 by 24?
Yeah.
So 18 by 24 is kind of where I would say is a good place to start. And then you can go bigger. Jenny did a commission painting that was what, like 9 foot by
Yeah, that
6?
was fun. It was a big one, and it looked really good.
Yeah,
when it was all done. It was kind of abstract.
And here's what I'll tell you. The reason why, like, a lot of times when people get started painting, they go and they buy these little canvases. And the 11 by 14s are fine, but I would say that's like the smallest I would ever recommend somebody starting with. But like, because like people go and they buy like these little tiny like 8 by 10s and stuff like that, and they're just enough smaller that it's just hard to work on. And the reason is, like, if you're doing, let's say, one of the paintings canvas size I like is like 36 by 48, and you think about like this brush that we used is our biggest brush that we use, but on a 36 by 48 canvas, you can do pretty fine detail with this versus the dexterity you need to do fine detail with this brush on an 8 by 10 to get the same effect. is a huge difference. And then the nice thing about the 36 by 48, you do need to get fine detail, and you can use this brush. You don't need to be nearly as meticulous to get the same effect. So
Nope.
the bigger the canvas you can do, and like I don't even have it here. We have it at home, but like we have a brush that's kind of like this style of brush, but it's this wide, and it's like the downside to doing that is the amount of paint you end up using.
Yeah. You can do it, Kim. 3 foot by 4 foot is fun.
Yeah,
Just do it. And, yeah. Then if you run out of paint, go get some more.
yeah, and that's like one of the things, like the acrylic paints that we use, and we buy them in half gallons, and they're like what, $20 for a half gallon. Find 4 colors, 5 colors you like. You spend $100, but you're gonna paint like.
I like using black and white in those because they're pretty they're pretty good. They're black and white with the Blick acrylics, student acrylics, and then you can, spend more money for colors.
But like when we did the 16 by 20s in the studio, and we would do.
You wouldn't use a lot of paint.
No, I mean we would do. Our Tiger studio sat 44 people, 42 people.
Yeah.
Plus ourselves, and we would do less than a half gallon of any color. Like it wouldn't even be close, and so we're doing 45 paintings with that amount of paint.
Nice.
So, and then the other thing is like we probably should just like do talk about the other paints and stuff. But when you get like a higher end, like a golden or the Liquitex or something like that, that's a thicker paint. The System 3 that we've been using is closer to that, but that paint goes a lot further than the liquid paints that were the thinner paints that we used to send out. But anyway, Jenny's getting hungry.
I'm logging out. I'm tired after teaching.
I'm
and
hungry.
I didn't sleep very good last night, so yes, I'm super tired, but I had a lot of fun, and I love this technique with the watered down outlining. Hope you guys did too.
So that's the nice thing about using a thicker paint. You can always thin it down.
Yeah. So we will figure out what we're doing in July and see you soon.
Yeah, and you know what, you guys, if you guys have any requests, by all means, send them. Over the last 13 years, we've done a lot of paintings, and sometimes the barrel runs a little dry.
Well, Daniel did. He says Elton John.
Oh, Elton John. That could be a fun one. Do you
I
remember?
think so, yeah.
You remember that Tom Bombadil painting you did?
Yes.
You could totally do an Elton John painting like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, guys, we're gonna log out and let y'all get to bed on the East Coast, and let you get to dinner on the West Coast, and all that.
We'll see you next time. Everybody have an amazing 4th of July if we don't connect before then.
Yeah. We probably won't.
Yeah.
So, anyway, thanks,
See you
guys.
later.
Love y'all.
Bye.
See
Have
you
fun,
later.
Kim and Mark.
Bye. Good.
Bye.
Congratulations, Mark.
Yes.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
And end.
You were the Rambler.
Yeah, it's all right.